Welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
So it's very important, at least for me and for the whole committee, to have all ages represented. So historically, it's always the first Saturday in March. The Friday night beforehand is usually the all ages event. And that's happened at the YMCA years ago, and now it's at the Eagles Club. So we wanted to make sure there was a representation in those.
Here to introduce you to the great musicians and music businesses and organizations of Wisconsin. Every week, Wisconsin Music Podcast will be bringing you great information on what's happening in the Wisconsin music world. For our music-loving listeners, we'll bring you music that you haven't even heard of yet from unique and talented artists and hear about their journey so far. You'll either hear live performances of their songs or songs from their selected discography. For our musicians out there wondering what they can do to further their recognition, we'll be calling upon Wisconsin music businesses and organizations to enlighten you on what they're doing to help further your music journey. And now, here's your host, Zach Fell.
Thanks, Dean. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wisconsin Music Podcast, brought to you by Diamond Dave Photography, the photography that supports local music in Wisconsin and is ready to work with your band or any solo artist on your next promo pictures or band show. To contact Diamond Dave and see previous work, check out Diamond Dave Photography on Facebook and Instagram. Wisconsin Music Podcast is also brought to you by ZTF Studio. ZTF Studio recording and mixing services, specializing in singles, demos, EPs, and LP projects for the last 20 years in southeastern Wisconsin, doing jazz, rock, funk, country, indie, and more. That's it for advertisement. We are at episode 23. This week's episode, we are shining light on the Thoughts for Food event that happens in Racine, Wisconsin. They are in their 29th year. It happens on the first Saturday of every March, and when we don't have a pandemic going on, what happens is many of the venues on Main Street of Racine open up their doors to local and not so local bands, and bands perform about a 45-minute set, and there's about 3 to 5 bands per venue going on at the same time. Basically, what you do is you donate the annual amount, and you get a wristband, and you get to go from tavern to tavern, venue to venue, and listen to all the great music while raising money for the Racine County Food Bank. And especially with a pandemic going on and people not able to work, a lot of our citizens are in need of food assistance, especially children. As we know, children cannot fend for themselves when they're very young, and they need help through a food bank to help to counteract hunger. The Racine County Food Bank has been granted a 501c3 status by the IRS as a tax-exempt organization, and every donation you make is tax deductible. You can go to thoughtsforfood.org and click on the donate button, and that donation is secured by PayPal, so it is not anything we're not used to by now. You can use your Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover to help out. The volunteer efforts, food donations, and cash contributions enable the food bank through its network of emergency food delivery organizations to serve more than 2,000 people each month. This is accomplished through the 22 city and county area food pantries, with more than half the food being served to children. In addition, 2,700 more people each week enjoy the 7 hot meal programs, and the emergency shelters serve more than 20,000 meals to our neighbors in need. Your help truly makes a difference. So today we have Ruth Thielen and Nick Ramsey. They're going to be talking about the great event of Thoughts for Food. Let's get right into it. Thank you for being on the Wisconsin Music Podcast. I really appreciate you guys coming on here. What year are we in now?
29.
29 years as doing this for the Racine Food Bank. Why don't you guys kind of tell everybody about it?
My name is Ruth Thielen. I am one of the co-chairs of the planning committee. So the premise behind Thoughts for Food is a beer party with music for food. That's how it started 1993. It was 3 members of the local Vets 21 group Steve Klinkhammer, Ron Schultz, and Bill May kind of wanted to get together. It was the first Saturday in March, and they had a party at George's Tavern. The cover was, I believe, $3, and they had maybe 12 or 13 bands. And the idea was we're going to get together and drink beer and have music and have good thoughts for food, donating money to which was then the Racine County Project Emergency. Also involved with it was Mark Paprath, who was head of the Racine County Project Emergency, and Dave Popoff, the owner of George's. Evolution. Over the years, last year we had 18 stages and 46 bands. It's all in one day. All of the bands play for free. That's the most amazing part of this is just the sense of community and volunteerism and the people that pitch in between the bands and the people that work the doors and the people that set up and all equipment and sound around. And they're all willing to do this every year for free to support the food bank. It is one of the biggest fundraisers for the food bank. So this year, of course, we were challenged with not being able to gather all together with a pint and enjoy all of this music. So we've struggled. Some of us the last few years, we're not huge social media techno people, and we've struggled a lot with some things. And this year kind of pushed us over that edge, and it's been tremendous. We ended up recording 12 bands a few weeks ago in January that are all going to get dropped on the Thoughts for Food website on Saturday, March 6th, starting at 11 a.m.
What's the website for it?
thoughtsforfood.org. So if you go to www.thoughtsforfood.org, on the main page, there is a donate button there, which of course is the main purpose of all of this. We are seeking donations to support the food bank. But also at the top, you'll see bands. And on that page is a picture and a link to every band that will be brought on that day.
Excellent.
To the Thoughts for Food Facebook page. And subscribe to the YouTube channel there so that when all of the things get loaded on that Saturday.
Wonderful. And I'll put that information down in the show notes as well so people can click on that and go right to it if they can't remember thoughtsforfood.org or going to Thoughts for Food on Facebook. This is the 29th year. You have how many bands?
This year we have 12. Just the logistics of recording. We actually were going to have 13 and one band had to drop up because of an illness. But the logistics of recording and getting what we needed together and hopefully getting it all done, we kind of set that as our goal, and it really went pretty smoothly. We were able to get it all together, and our hope is it's just going to roll forward, that people will make it like your Super Bowl party. Subscribe to the video, sit down with your family in your house, feel safe. I watched all the videos. It's like being there. Those of us that were there that day felt pretty spoiled, like we were having live music for the first time in a year. But it's fun. It's really fun.
So the bands that you recorded, were these all the 21 and older bands, or did you have some of the all ages bands perform for this event as well?
So it's very important, at least for me and for the whole committee, to have all ages represented. So historically, it's always the first Saturday in March. The Friday night beforehand is usually the all ages event. And that's happened at the YMCA years ago, and now it's at the Eagles Club. So we wanted to make sure there was representation in those 12 for all ages. We have 2 acts that are basically younger, 15 to high school age. We have a punk group, I think it's 4-piece. Yeah, 4-piece group, punk group, who write their own songs. They're called Venganza. You can see them. They have like online presence. And then we have a singer named Alana Ray, plays soul, R&B, great voice. So 2 of the 12 were under 21.
You took my heart and made it a home. We made it through the aching parts, and I gave you my soul. Oh, we tried to kill the pain and heal scars. But now love has had its days, and we're moving apart. While we're chasing time, gotta find peace of mind and understand that maybe we never can. Keep me in your mirror.
So when does this all come live? Is it on the day that Thoughts for Food was supposed to be, which is the first Saturday of March?
That's correct. We've stuck with that date over the years for many reasons. The first one being the food bank needs money and food in March, just like they do. People think about it at Thanksgiving and Christmas time, but come spring, they need food as well. And also to kind of honor the people who started it and their premise back then. It's always been sort of a kind of like a cabin fever breakout party. Sometimes we've had 70 degrees, sometimes we've had 3 feet of snow. So we're sticking with that date, Saturday, March 6th, and all of the actual videos will get sent up at 11 o'clock that day. If you go to the Thoughts for Food Facebook page, we have little promo clips of most of the bands on there already that recorded. So a little 45-second or a minute loop showing through that's kind of enticing people to come to the event that day, but it gives you a good taste of the variety of music that we have.
Let's talk about some of that variety.
Well, I can add at least some input on that.
Okay.
Like we talked about, we have the all ages, so it's kind of R&B, soul, the singer-songwriter. Her name's Alana Ray. There's a punk, 4-piece Venganza. There's another kind of punk hard rock group called Slaughter Party, and a really great name. So they're kind of like punk hard rock. There's some classic rock bands who do a lot of covers, Fall Hazard being one of them.
Are you ready, fellas? Well, all right, boys. Well, let's go! Well, it's been getting so hard, living with the things you do to me. My dreams are getting so strange. I'd like to tell you everything I see. I see a man in the back, as a matter of fact, his eyes are as red as the sun. And the girl in the corner's everyone's mourning, 'cause she thinks she's the passionate one. Oh, yeah, it's like lightning. Everybody was frightening, and the music was soothing, and they all started grooving. And the man in the back said, everyone attack, it'll turn into a ballroom blitz. And the girl in the corner said, boy, I wanna warn you, it'll turn into a ballroom blitz.
Weird Science being another one. It's kind of like pop hits, popular music hits. They're doing Paula Abdul, and what else was Weird Science doing?
Weird Science takes 80s music and just cranks it up. They do 99 Loftaloons and a bunch of stuff you wouldn't expect and just make it fun.
Right. So all the music that was happening when that movie Weird Science came out in the 80s, they're kind of drawing from there.
Exactly.
All the old paintings on the chimney do the stand gypsy.
So I'm part of a group that does, I call it poetic funk, but it's like a hip hop funk live band action. There's a blues player, Stephen Hall, really getting a lot of recognition around the state. He's, I think, 22 now. He's been part of the all ages events before, and now he's doing like the whole events. So the Stephen Hall Experience, it's a blues group. A high stakes band, they do kind of like the R&B, funk, soul. They do some classic rock stuff too, and even some reggae, which was really neat. You got kind of everything represented. We have a folk singer in Rochelle with Rocky Rose, kind of folk mixed with kind of country rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rocky Rose is one of the bands that's all original music as well.
I'm headed for the south in the spring. Shake off these icy coals and thaw out my brain. Yes, I'm going south in the spring. I can't wait to feel the sun on my skin. Breathe in the cherry blossom wind, and I'll feel alive again.
And then also Ricky Orta duo.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Orta is from Racine, but now lives up in West Allis and hosts Mike Nights up there. But he did a duo that is really fun to watch. So, and keyboard player, do their take on everything from Chris Stapleton to Jim Brochi.
Uptown got his hustlers, the Bowery got his thumbs. 42nd Street got Big Jim Walker, he a pursuit inside of a gun. Hey, he's big and dumb as a man can't come, but stronger than a country house. And when the bedposts get together at night, but they all call Big Jim boss just because.
So really good mix. It's been fun just to see the variety of, Slaughter Party describes themselves as a horror band with happy punk lyrics. It's great. It's a really good representation, I feel, of the Racine music scene.
So all the bands are, you said one of them was in West Allis, but are majority of the bands from the Racine area, or are we drawing from different areas of Wisconsin?
Typically it's been pretty much Racine. We've tried to reach out to bands, and we have definitely had bands from Kenosha last year when we had 46 or 48 bands. We did have a couple from Kenosha. We had a couple from Milwaukee. We had one from Wausau. Had from different areas around the state. Sometimes difficult to entice people to come that far to play for free to support the Racine need when there obviously is a need in everybody's city and town.
Right.
but kudos to them that they've been willing to do that and come down and support us. And a lot of them have ties to Racine at some point, and so they're willing to come back and do it.
Excellent.
Zach, just to make sure I hit every single one. Well, other ones, there's I know we have a nice list in front of us. Moore Avenue, which is basically a two-piece acoustic. There's a variety of ways that they can come together, but they do a lot of kind of, rock and more of the 90s rock stuff.
There's an echo pulling out the meaning, rescuing a nightmare from a dream. The voices in my head are always screaming. None of this means anything to me, and it's a long way back from 17. Whispers turn into a scream, and I'm not coming home. Save your breath. I'm nearly bored to death, fading fast. Life is too short to.
And then I think Full Flavor. They do classic rock cover stuff, but they also throw in some Santana, kind of more of the guitar focused. So that's the list, pretty much, of all the groups, and nice variety.
Yeah.
Boys and girls included.
So let's kind of talk about the future. So COVID is under control, and we're back to live events. What do you continue to see for Thoughts for Food as the years progress in the next 3 or 5 years?
Well, that's a topic we discussed at our very last meeting last week, Saturday, to be honest with you, Zach. The whole point of live music is all getting together to see live music, and we all want that back. And that would be our goal, is that we're all together in person in all of these places. But that being said, we don't want to lose the virtual piece of it. We've taken a big jump this year and taken on, some stuff that made us all pretty darn uncomfortable, but really came together well. I have to give a huge shout out to Kevin Schwartz from Instrumental Motion. He is the gentleman who came and filmed all of this and edited all of this and has helped us with promotion. He too is from Milwaukee, but has become very invested in making this event succeed, and just made us realize that we can do this. We can put it together a really quality product that is just going to bring people in. That being said, we've had a couple of, Bill May is one of the people that you will see on the sponsorship little clip video about how all of this event started. In our meeting, he talked a lot about some of the older people who don't really even know quite how to get to Thoughts for Food or .org, or people that are out there kind of bringing them in a little bit. There's a lot of us that don't go out and see music at 10 and 11 o'clock at night anymore. Struggled over the last few years of trying to bring in younger people and younger acts and get more participation. So as being one of the co-chairs, my goal would be to make a part of this virtual continually, a small part of it that are either going to bring in some young people, going to be available for some of us older people who might be sitting at home in our rocking chair at 10 o'clock at night with a bourbon or something,
Yep.
Participate in the event. So it'd be nice to keep some kind of that presence as well, just so that, the bottom line is these videos are going to be out there once they're there, and the donate button and all of that. So hopefully that's going to continue to bring in people and bring awareness to the event.
Diamond Dave Photography, the photography that supports local music in Wisconsin, and is ready to work with your band or any solo artist on your next promo pictures or band show. To contact Diamond Dave and see previous work, check out Diamond Dave Photography on Facebook and Instagram. Wisconsin Music Podcast is also brought to you by ZTF Studio. ZTF Studio recording and mixing services, specializing in singles, demos, EPs, and LP projects for the last 20 years in southeastern Wisconsin, doing jazz, rock, funk, country, indie, and more. ZTF Studio brings success to your recording project. All right, back to the interview. Did you have any issues with copyright with the bands that play cover songs for the video?
Not at this point, but we're going to see once these videos drop. I know that, looking at YouTube and all that, pretty much if it's like a backing track, just a backing instrumental track, that's going to get flagged more than, someone doing their rendition of a cover. And you see tons of YouTube videos where, their whole channel is just them doing covers of other people's stuff. So they don't usually get flagged unless there's, real drastic similarities, or they're using the actual, instrumental registered track. So we haven't had any problems with copyright at this point.
The reasons also that we're not really dropping the videos until that day because we didn't want to, draw that much attention. So venues in our shows, many of them are ASCAP members and have been for years. So we are, being that it is a benefit for the Racine County Food Bank and that is not for profit in any way, shape, or form. We're hoping to roll through that.
That's one plus of doing original music, obviously. Right?
Yeah. This is such a very important event for the families out there, especially during a pandemic who are struggling. We have a lot more families out there that are struggling than usual, and this is such an important event. Is there anything else you guys would like to highlight about the event?
Well, I'd like to just say, I first became aware of it. This kind of ties into your whole virtual versus live and in the future, how it's going. For years, we've talked about how do we make this an easy thing for people to know about? And obviously getting on podcasts like yours and radio and TV and, telling people about it is helpful. But there's a quick little video that can just describe it, and show them what it actually is. That's going to live on forever. So that's an easy resource for people to go back and find out. So that being said, I became aware of it because of, being interested in live music. And so going to see the all ages stuff at the YMCA when I was a kid and supporting my friends who were in bands, that was kind of, oh, wow, this is really an awesome event where you're not just seeing one act do 4 hours, 3 sets or whatever. You're seeing up to 40, basically you can make a schedule and go all over the city and see, as many bands as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Really like a music festival. It's a mobile music festival. And so, seeing it grow over the years and more of the younger people that have been brought into the all ages component, now they're the ones that are hitting the, the bars and whatnot when the actual Saturday night goes on. That's really cool to see, the young people taking the reins and making it continue to succeed, the event.
I think the other thing I would just like to highlight too is if you do go to the Facebook page and you scroll back, last year we actually went out to a bunch of the pantries that supply food and letting these musicians know that this is what you've done over 29 years. We've raised about close to $480,000. That's $500,000 for
wow.
115,000 pounds of food. I mean, so to think that these bands, are just wanting to play for free is incredible. But then you go to the pantries that, some of the local churches we highlighted, First Presbyterian and Holy Communion. There's Love Inc. in Burlington, which does a lot because obviously the Racine County Food Bank is for the entire county. It is not just for the city of Racine. They are not a direct service provider, which means you don't go there and pick up a meal, but they supply all of the meal programs and the pantries and the shelters and those things. And so by doing this, by coming and playing a 45-minute set, you can feed a family of 4 for a week with the donation that's given. So that is the biggest part of this, is that it's really, and when you look at it, if you think 18 bands or in 46 bands time, at least 2 to 3 people per band, we're pushing on 200 people who are just volunteering every year to do this. So that I think is the main message of this, is that it's a great way to hear music, but it's just some really people that have a good heart.
And when we don't have the pandemic, we have also all the great venues that donate their time for the bands to perform as well. Open up their doors and let people go in and out. Do you know if the venues in the past, when the patrons come in and they buy drinks and whatever, do they donate as well to Thoughts for Food?
Well, I can tell you that the venues do pay a fee to be in the event. We do pay for There's a stipend for the sound engineer for each venue, or drum kit, bass rig, kind of backline. Basically, whatever the venue puts in covers those costs. If the venue has their own sound, they get back that money, obviously. So none of it is a point of making money on it. It's basically, that's the only paid part of this entire event, is the sound engineers and the equipment in the background. The venues do obviously do that. We still have some venues that donate, that do give a percentage of their profits, or more importantly, will help support the food bank in other ways throughout the year, do other events at their establishments. We're very lucky that way, in that these venues, some of them, if it's a small venue and they just have a duo in there, they're not going to make a ton of money that night, but they're still willing to pay the money in the event and just support it. And that's just overwhelming. So we're lucky. We also have some community sponsors. You can see on our homepage, we have some small businesses.
Yeah, why don't we give a shout out to some of the venues and to your sponsors as well?
Yeah, I do. And I'm actually going to pull up the page right here just so I can make sure I don't miss anybody. One of our committee members is Gary Eastep. He owns High Standard Machining, and he always supports the event. We have Racine Fifth Street Yacht Club, which is in the event, but also makes donation. Jim's Garage Door Service for the last several years has supported us with a monetary donation. Tony Cooey from AC Auto Body is tremendous in supporting the food bank in so many different ways. David Insurance Company here in Racine. Rami Printing has donated a bunch of posters and made some really good stuff for us. Our biggest sponsor so far this year is Ron Cruz from Buca's Bar and Grill. He not only through this, but then later in the year we'll have a bus trip and do a raffle and donate half the money to the food bank. So there's many of these sponsors that are just by having this awareness are just, really supporting the event. Fred Jacobson, who does our sound over at the Eagles Club. Fred has been there forever. He's just amazing. He can make anybody sound wonderful. Really does. And then, obviously George's Tavern and the Eagles Club where we record it. So we have all kinds of sponsors. United Ways help support the Racine County Food Bank. So yeah, if anybody is interested listening to this and you're willing to sponsor, typically in past years when you sponsored, say, $100, you would get 5 tickets to the event, or $300, you'd get maybe 20 tickets and your name on a stage. And we weren't able to offer that this year, but we definitely have embedded those logos into the video so that the the sponsors are going to get free advertising as long as those videos are out there running. You can contact us at thoughtsforfood.org. There is the email address on there will come directly to myself and Michael Gibson. You can also go to the Racine County Food Bank page, and on that page, there is the donate button, there is the mailing address, there is an email address, as well as right here on the thoughtsforfood.org homepage. And that's the biggest thing, is that donate button is there, and it's done through PayPal, so it's obviously a secure link, and that's where we just want to direct all our traffic.
Is there a minimum for the donations?
Whatever they're willing to give us.
Wisconsin Music Podcast and ZTF Studio would like to donate $100.
Wow. Well, that's very generous of you. Thank you so much.
It's a great event. Lots of people suffering out there. And I encourage and implore all our listeners out there to do as much as you can to help out all the people in Racine that are in dire need of food from the food bank. Because especially with the pandemic going on, I know there's a greater need than usual going on at this moment. So anybody out there that can help out with the food bank, please go to thoughtsforfood.org, click on that donation button, and donate as much as you can for the needy people. There's a lot of children out there. Don't forget, just because we talk about adults needing food, they have children out there as well that are not being fed as much as they need to be. So help out the children as well as the adults out there that need help through the food bank. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything else that we can discuss before we end our interview today?
I don't think so. You've just done a wonderful job. We really appreciate you having us on and helping promote the event. And thanks for thinking of us this year. As you said, you played in the event at one point. Thanks for reaching out to us and promoting. And hopefully you enjoy all of the videos on March 6th.
Oh, I definitely will be watching them for sure. And everybody else out there, make sure you go out and watch on March 6th. What is your YouTube channel?
You can get to it from the Thoughts for Food Facebook page. Right on there, it says subscribe to the YouTube channel now. The link is on there. Otherwise, if on the day on March 6th, go to thoughtsforfood.org and click on the band link. Up at the top, it says bands. And you can go through and you can pick whichever band you want to listen to and whatever you want to order you want to listen to them. I encourage you, if you look at a band and go, holy cow, listen to them anyway, because you may have heard, some of these bands. I don't always get an opportunity to hear them the night of the event because I'm working stuff, but I've listened to them all many times this year and been thoroughly impressed. So
excellent.
One last thing I'd like to say is you can also just go to the YouTube. Currently, these teaser promo videos, 1-minute videos of each band are continually being added. I think there's 7 of the 12 on there right now. So you just look up Thoughts for Food on YouTube, and there's a page there. You can subscribe to it if you want and get notified when new videos drop. So yeah, it's as simple as looking up Thoughts for Food online.
Excellent. And I'll put the links down in the show notes as well. Well, thank you so much for being on the Wisconsin Music Podcast. I hope that you raise more money than you ever have in the past years. And it turns out to be a fantastic event for everybody, especially for those in need in Racine.
Great. Thank you so much, Zach.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
Thank you. Well, that's the end of another great interview. And thank you all out there for listening. If you're interested, there is a donation button on the website. Donations help with getting the name out there and having great guests, or go to buymeacoffee.com/Wisconsin Music Podcast. I'd like to thank Nate Wyckoff for creating the music for the Wisconsin Music Podcast, and to Dean Bundy for our great voiceover in the beginning and intro. Thanks to Jacob at CW Hip Hop for syndicating our podcast every Monday at 4 p.m. at cwhiphop.com. Also, ZTF Studio recording and mixing services, specializing in singles, demos, EPs, and LP projects for the last 20 years in southeastern Wisconsin, doing jazz, rock, funk, country, indie, and more. You can contact ZTF Studio at www.ztfstudio.com or ztfstudio@gmail.com.
Keep on being yourself. We're not going anywhere, Racine. Keep on shooting to the blueprint. Check it out. Smack the 5 o'clock alarm like mosquitoes on the arm. Hit the snooze button, then itch to soothe something. This annoyance mostly audible until it penetrates. What I don't do is punch clocks like heavyweight socks off, then they're on. Pants and shirts too. We all call the dawn darkness we work through. I'm that earthworm to dirt. Breach when dug up. Return to what's known before the sun's up. Let a dried out. Cried inside but taking pout. The viewership was done running along my route. Doing what I must. I thrust like jet engines. Deep in these words of what I wrote and how it mentions. Emotions still like